Welcome, everybody, for one more session at the Fellow Mind Denmark Studios. And today we're having a very nice, engaging session about how AI is transforming the way we work. And we're going to bring a lot of experts from all over Europe to actually bring their expertise within OpenAI, security, and including Microsoft Fabric and other topics today to really engage and give you a heads up on what is going on the world of AI. This webinar will provide you very valuable information of how OpenAI can transform your business, as well taking a concrete step towards how you can start implementing it. This session is particularly meant for the C-level decision makers who are looking to leverage in a much more comprehensive way their OpenAI within their organizations. So, how can you boost your productivity? How can you enable your users and your organization to do better with the support of AI? You're going to see everything here today. My name is Alan Rocha, and I'm going to be the host of the event of today. And I would like you to come with me along this great session. A little bit on the agenda. So the agenda for today is we are going to talk a little bit of Azure Cognitive Services and the integration with business applications that will be hosted and handled by myself. After that, my colleague Nicholas Anderson will talk about security leadership, compliance, and legal aspects of OpenAI. Very interesting, huh? Then after that, latest Microsoft releases and concrete use cases with OpenAI, demos with Mika, our colleague from Finland. And we are going to close the day with Microsoft Fabric, all your data, all your teams, all in one place with Matthias. So come along with us, and I hope you have a great session about Microsoft OpenAI. So starting with Azure Cognitive Services and the integration with business applications. Like I said, my name is Alan Rocha. I'm a director of business applications in Fellow Mind Denmark. Been working with Microsoft technologies for over 20 years, and it's a pleasure to be here today hosting this session for all of you. So let's start with quick statement, which I think it's quite an interesting statement, is we have had modern tools while business process have remained traditional. And that is something to all of us to bring it home and think about it, because every time we get new versions of our products, new versions of our tools, but we still handling our process in a very traditional way, even though they are digitalized. So we believe that now with the revolution of OpenAI and AI coming into place with generative AI, this is about to change. So bring that home, think about it, how those traditional processes will take a different loop. And I would like to bring a little bit of history of AI as well. So if you come with me and take a look at a little bit of, and by the way, AI is nothing new, it's something there for many years. It started with artificial intelligence in 56, and then it built up with the machine learning in 97, which I was not even part of anything of those. But in 2017, deep learning started and came as the machine learning technique that really leveraged the neural networks. And I myself have an experience on that because it was when I started embracing the world of AI. Interesting enough, at the time, data quality was key, and you must have that data well established and organized to start using AI. But then in 2021, we come up with generative AI, which create a completely new world, creating written materials, generating images, creating code, validating things for all of us. And that is so important because now anyone can start. Of course, you must check some of the boxes on your business cases, but it's really a revolutionary way of working with AI. And AI is really here, not only on, I would say, on the social media, on the news, but it's double the AI private investments in the last year. We actually got 5 times more research in the fairness and transparency within AI, and 50% of organizations have adopted AI within the last at least one business area. So AI is here to stay. Most important, if we looked at the technology is not only here, but is even being applied to several other cases. We actually have ChatGPT as one of the most adopted tools within the last years. Then you ask, but how is this going to affect my users? And I will just give you a glimpse that Microsoft Copilot, which is built on top of generative AI, it's going to be on all Office and Teams in Microsoft 365. So keep an eye on that, because this is also going to revolutionize how we work with AI. And bringing some adopting AI with do more with less, which is kind of the Microsoft way of working. These are the top 3 common adopt AI cases and its benefits. Why should I do AI? But if you look at intelligent document automation, it can really save up thousands of man hours in manual working. It can actually make it 3 times faster for you to actually get from the sales to the inventory management. And also with the bots, hyper-personalization and cross-sell within chatbots can up to $10 million annual savings within your organization. Of course, I can bring a lot more other scenarios, but I want to explore a little bit of what is cognitive services, what is OpenAI and applied AI services. So, few customer cases or use cases for you to think about it in terms of conversational AI, document intelligence, machine translation, and sale and support bots. These are few numbers that we bring into the table. Moving forward, what is OpenAI and Microsoft doing together? They actually build a partnership together. And what is really interesting is Microsoft really wants to actually build that partnership to leverage all the knowledge that OpenAI has developed in all the intelligence and the models they created, bringing in, developing more AI technologies within the Microsoft stack, building a platform for AI computing, at the same time improving and advancing AI research within the same models, but most important, making AI more accessible to everyone while keeping your data safe and secure. Very, very important. And that is a big difference between this, the OpenAI, and the Microsoft OpenAI. But then you ask me, but Alan, what is OpenAI? What is Microsoft AI? I brought a little bit of an example for you here, what is Microsoft AI, but we are going to focus on few of them. So there is a corner with OpenAI, GPT, DALL-E, Codex. But Alan, I don't know what this means. I'm going to explain in a minute. And then I have some vision, speech, language, decision, and OpenAI service, which is a combination between Azure Cognitive Services and Azure Applied AI Services. What is cognitive services? So cognitive services are actually a simulation of things that humans can do. Like in the vision, I can identify that there is a mouse or there is a cup on top of this table. On the speech, I can translate the speech into text. I'm speaking in English right now, but it can be automatically translated into other languages. Talking about language, language understanding, intelligent systems, understanding the meaning of those words in combination with each other, and also for decision, helping an anomaly detection, and several other cases. But then we jump into a little bit of Azure OpenAI Service. What is that Azure OpenAI Service? It is a large pre-trained foundation of AI models custom tuned with your parameters in your data in a safe environment in your organization. That is very, very important to keep that in mind. So with the Azure OpenAI Service, we have 3 pillars that I would like to just explain to you. We have the GPT or ChatGPT, Codex, and DALL-E. What they do in different of each other, GPT is actually generating text. It's a model built for that with very different capabilities for its users. Then we have Codex helping and specialized on generating code. And we have DALL-E, which generates image models. Few examples of each one of those so you can understand what I'm talking about. So if I write, please write a tagline for an ice cream shop, then GPT will tell me exactly, we serve up smiles with every scoop. This is GPT and GPT-4. When I jump into ChatGPT, I'm actually having a conversation with the same model behind, with some differences. So I ask, I'm having some trouble with my Xbox. Then there will be a response, and there is some conversational threads. Then I'm going for Codex, which is actually enabling you to not only validate, but also create code with high quality within your organization. And an example of DALL-E, which generates an infinite number of images for you. Please create a ball of fire, vibrant colors that will speed the innovation of our media and AI, and it will generate that image for you. So if we look at the whole picture, we have Azure AI all the way to the bottom in the cognitive AI models. But then pay attention, if you go up 2 levels, we have all the application platform, which enables you with low code to leverage all these capabilities. And in 1 level up, on the enterprise applications, you have all the Microsoft 365, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and partner solutions. So talking about partner solutions and how you can leverage this within your organization, I have brought some quick examples for us. So one of them, which is a very simple example of applying AI for document processing, is basically you extracting rich insights from documents that you already have. So what I'm going to be doing here is I will crawl all the documents and extract information from all of them, including handwriting, videos, tables, all different types of formats. Then I'm going to push this into Azure Cognitive Search, creating an intelligent index of all that data, building on top of the Azure AI service, which will make something queryable using an interface that uses natural language, allowing each one to interface with that data that I created. And then I can use web applications, Power BI, or even Dynamics 365 to output those results. But Alan, is this real? Can this really be applied to the world we live today? And yes, I would like to show you what we have created recently for Dynamics 365 called FellowMind Synergy AI, built on top of the Azure OpenAI. And a quick example of what you're able to do here is, I'm able to actually work with project operations. Inside my project, I don't know how to build a plan, but I can ask FellowMind Synergy AI to create a plan for me using personalized and tuned data. So I would like to use my project state description, and I want to create task names as statements to make it easier to communicate with the team. Number of tasks that will be used, I click a button, AI is now thinking and using all its technology and will create a plan in a second for you. Amazingly beautiful. And I can tell you, working with projects for so many years, it's almost impossible to detect that this plan was not built for a very experienced guy. With the time's up, I would like to have a final checklist of items before you make your considerations with Azure OpenAI Service. Do I need a general purpose model that can handle multiple tasks? Check. I need to generate human-like content while preserving data privacy? Check. I need rapid prototyping and quick time to market for many use cases? Check. Could I use a model with a little or no training? Check. I want to explore a solution use case that I have been described previously. Then you fit to Azure OpenAI Service. Otherwise, you still have all the cognitive services to use if you're not on that level. To close my sessions with 3 key takeaways, please identify applicable use cases in your business, initiate the dialogue internally at your organization, and get prepared to kickstart. Schedule an architecture design session with FellowMind and our team, and we are here to help you. Thank you very much. My time is up, and my name is over there. Please get in contact with us, and looking forward for the other sessions. I would like to bring with us now for the security and leadership session, compliance and legal aspects, our colleague Nicholas.
Thank you, Alan. So, yes, I'm going to talk about OpenAI and these technologies from a slightly different perspective. So when you want to take into use these technologies or kind of figure out how to utilize them within your company, there's a number of things I think you should be aware of. So if you kind of start with the framework that I'm going to be describing here, it's built around 4 pillars. So basically 4 pillars that guide you through which different areas you need to think about. The first one is actually, what is generative AI, and especially what is it not? Because there is a lot of confusion about that in the market, and there's a lot of people who are trying to use generative AI for things that it's simply not suited for. So people kind of tend to be using it like you would be using Google, asking it questions and expecting a factual answer to come back. But that is not really how these technologies work. The idea is behind them is that generative AI is good at producing text about a specific topic, but that doesn't mean that it actually understands it. So there isn't, let's say, an intelligence behind there that actually knows what is a dog, for example, what is a cat, what are the physiological differences between them and so forth. And this applies to all other large language models and generative AI. So what it actually does and what it knows how to do very well is produce text on these topics. Because all of these models are trained on large quantities of human-produced language. So basically, in the case of OpenAI, they have used a lot of publicly available material from the internet and different electronically available books and so forth to basically construct the material or put together the material that they trained the model on. So that means that it's very skillful and very good at producing text, but it is not actually understanding what the meaning is underneath. It understands the words, it understands sentiments, and from that it can build up an actual response or an actual good text about a topic. So this is something that needs to be understood because we are seeing tools like ChatGPT being used to produce text that include, let's say, references or facts that do not actually exist, because all it's doing is trying to produce a very good text about a topic, but the references and things like that can be made up. So it's really important that you validate some of the things you get when you ask questions from ChatGPT. Now, this we'll be talking later on today a little bit about how you can do this on top of your own data and prevent the AI models from actually inventing new ideas or new facts and stick only to what you actually feed them in terms of sources. But let's get back to that in a bit. So another main source of confusion is how up-to-date the texts that ChatGPT and other models have been trained on. And here it's crucial to understand that in the case of the OpenAI text-based models, they were trained on material that went back to September 2021, not more recent than that. So that means that if you ask about recent events, the model is not going to be aware of them. And again, here we come into the question of how much you can trust what the actual model itself says. So the important thing here is to realize that these models are not actually good sources of truth unless you run them on top of your own data. But the important thing is that they are natural language interfaces on top of your own material. And that brings us to basically the second topic, and that is how this probably will change the face of computing and our interactions with computers. So back in the late 60s, in 1968, there was a famous demo by a man called Douglas Engelbart that focused on showcasing basically what's common usage of computers today: mouse, Windows-based interfaces, stuff like that. So basically how we have been using computers and interacting with them throughout all of these years. Now, I think that the large language models will have a huge role in changing this interaction going forward. Being able to talk either through typing or through voice with the machine in your own language, having it handle any translations needed between material it finds for you and so forth, I think is going to be much, much more fast and natural to the majority of us. So it is going to be a replacement of how you interact with computers in many day-to-day scenarios. Things like this have been attempted before. For example, many of you might have tried Amazon Alexa or similar products which aren't as good at recognizing what you're actually trying to tell them. But these new models are much, much better at understanding human speech and dealing with different accents and languages and so forth. But for any of this to really work, if you want to be able to interact with your own data, you have to focus on the quality of it. I won't go much more into that topic because Matthias later on today is going to be talking about that, but this is really one hugely important aspect. Now, the third pillar I want to talk about is around all the concerns and let's say worries that people have about AI usage. Some of it is, well, obviously quite reasonable and I think shared by the majority of people. But there's also some that I think cause a bit of unnecessary worry or unnecessary concern. One typical one is to worry about how generative AI will make a lot of jobs redundant. And yes, I'm sure that there will be jobs affected by this, but I think that is true for basically any new technology that gains widespread usage. It changes some roles, it might eliminate some roles in a company and so forth. But I think the really important thing is to focus on how it can increase productivity. So basically how almost everyone, at least if you have a computer-focused job, will be able to utilize these technologies to get better and more efficient at your job. For example, people who are not very skilled at expressing themselves in writing will be able to at least produce good enough text and good enough material using these tools as help. And again, I think seeing it more as well, they call them co-pilots, a colleague to help you with certain tasks, but you need to remain in charge and you need to take responsibility or be responsible for whatever the material that is produced, that it's correct and that it's factual and so forth. But you will still be able to produce things much faster than you would be without these types of assistants. That goes for different writing tasks. It goes for writing presentations. It goes for programming and many other areas. Now, one of the really key things that people get wrong is what happens to the data that you give to tools like this. So as Alan mentioned, if you do this using the APIs and the tools provided by Microsoft, your data will not be used for a purpose that you didn't intend. But I think it's important to note that the publicly available ChatGPT that you can use for free, by default, anything you write into it and anything you write in your prompts and so forth can be used by OpenAI to train future models and can be used and read by people who validate the responses that the models produce. And this has led to some companies, most notably, I think, for example, Samsung and Apple, forbidding the use of these models on proprietary material, for example, company source code and things like that. So you need to be aware that these publicly available free tools, well, again, like anything free, if it's free, you're the product. So if you use these, be very careful with what material you feed to them. And again, to get around that, you need to use the APIs and the tooling provided by either OpenAI themselves or Microsoft to be able to make sure that your data doesn't go anywhere where you don't want it to go. And overall, when it comes to AI and this field, you will see a lot of different actors producing new models, new services, and so forth with this, and you really need to consider how much can you trust them with what you give them. For example, as many of you probably know, some large American social media companies have been less than, let's say, careful with who they provide their users' data to and who they sell it to. So please be careful and think it through. Is there an incentive for whoever you give the data to actually keep it safe, or are you, in effect, the product? And of course, that also applies to security. Even if they don't have bad intent, you need to make sure that you use companies that produce reliable and secure infrastructure so that you do know what's happening to your data. You can, at least as far as possible, trust that it's being kept safe. Now, the fourth and final pillar is maybe the, well, in a way, maybe most boring one, but one that will have an impact and one that you can't actually affect that much, and that is laws and regulations that are being worked on. So right now, the EU is ahead in this compared to the US. The problem, maybe, or concern that I see in this is that this has to be in a bit of a rush, because ChatGPT kind of took the world a bit unaware. It was a black swan event in that sense, and lawmakers have had to really play catch up to try and get laws and legislation out there. So while I think many of the ideas there are very good, they are intended to protect privacy and protect people against things like AI-based surveillance, stuff like that. There are also areas that can be problematic, especially for highly regulated industries. So if you are in one of those industries, you should probably follow a bit of what's actually happening on the legislation side. Now, the key takeaways here are, I think you need to assume that people in your organization are already using ChatGPT and similar tools, and you need to educate them about the risks and what the tools actually do and what they do not do. You should consider deploying your own internal GPT-based chat, just so that you guide people away from an external one. And you should think about in what ways generative AI can be useful for your organization. And please remember, your competitors are also looking into those exact same things. And finally, put your data into shape, because you're going to need it. So here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss things further. And now it's time for me to introduce Mika Tekoniemi, who will talk about concrete steps for leveraging generative AI. Thank you.
All righty. Perfect. Thank you, Niklas. I'm Mika Tekoniemi. I'm straight out from Finland, here live in Denmark to talk about some concrete steps into leveraging generative AI. And today I really wanted to go into some real examples on where the world has really pushed this current technology. And I'm sure, well, by now you've heard a bunch about ChatGPT, and you know it's a sort of a generalistic model which is, well, it's basically taught to answer your questions and, well, make up answers. It's just about answering whatever you want to push it in a generalistic way. And what Microsoft is now really pushing towards, they are introducing these co-pilots. And the idea behind these co-pilots is that they are no longer generalistic. They are taught to perform some certain actions on behalf of some certain use case. And that's why the co-pilots, they are really taught to fix some certain tasks. Like if we go forward and we can see in this slide, Copilot, they are being introduced all over Microsoft ecosystem now, and they are trained to, well, for example, push some materials for you, for example, some content. And it's not only something that's available generally. They are basically taught to include your data and include everything that you've invested years into. So basically what we could do is we could start writing a paragraph about some new product, and then we want the Copilot to help us. We can basically tell it to, okay, now can you help me with this? And last week I wrote the product description or newsletter about a certain product. I want that to be the basis for my new content. And we can do it. And we can also make it do some sort of different variations from my text. We could do something that's humoristic, something that's professional, something that is specific in our use case. And it's not only about having just one co-pilot that is helping us do work. It's also the whole ecosystem of Microsoft products that we are known, that we know and we love to use, and we have used those for several years, such as PowerPoint. We could include the Word document that we just generated. We could have the PowerPoint be referenced to that specific Word document, and we could have it generate a ready-made PowerPoint presentation for you with all the speaker notes and all the images and transitions. And if you don't like it, you can once again go ask the Copilot to help you out and make it a little bit different. But the key point here is that we have all these tools, Excels, we have Outlooks, we have Teams, and all of these tools will have a co-pilot. And we are not talking about years here. We are talking about months that these things will be released and be available for the public to test out and start implementing in your own day-to-day processes. And that's really the powerful thing here, where we think about our own day-to-day work. If we think about having meetings on Teams, we can have a bot that is basically documenting our meetings and making sure that everything is up to date. If you want to ask the bot to fetch you a document from your SharePoint that's hidden somewhere in the swamp of SharePoint, so we can definitely ask it, and within second you will be having these things available and ready for your use. But one thing that I'm especially excited about is what Microsoft just in the latest build announced. They announced these Copilot plugins, and this is a huge game changer into thinking that Microsoft typically, when they announce new technology, they are typically these black boxes that you can't really access yourself. So these plugins are a big deal, because now you can include your own data to these Copilot features. And you can also read data from any of your sources, whether that be an ERP of yours, SAP, or whether that be Salesforce, and you can include it in your daily processes where the work actually happens. So your people are using Teams to chat, to know about what's going on in your company, and what's really interesting is where the work now happens. You can have these co-pilots be included in your daily processes, and you can ask them, okay, there was an escalation in a project yesterday when I was out. What has happened since? So we can basically have it fetch all the data from your Teams, from your Outlook, from your whole ecosystem of data, to know who has sent an email regarding the escalation, what internal activities have we done to this escalation ever since. And one really key feature, as we saw on the previous slide, or this slide, we saw that it could also do actions for you. So we saw that there was this form that was open, and it was pre-filled by the Copilot to really showcase that, okay, we can push data and it can be pre-filled, but you're in control to then do some modification and then eventually create it through the Copilot without having to open up a browser and jumping between your systems. So we could essentially create a ticket from here. And again, I say that it doesn't have to be Microsoft system, it can be whatever, Jira or something else. But another interesting thing is that we can also create our own use case specific Copilots. And this is through the Azure OpenAI service that was now released into preview. And we have been, as a FellowMind, we have been investigating and playing out with this tool already ourselves. So we wanted to know, like, what it can do with our data. Can we restrict it so that we can trust it? And we started with this first use case where we just uploaded documents to our model, which for this example we have used Microsoft Licensing Guide, which is obviously something that people typically don't bother to read that much, or even if they do, it's somewhat complex. So we can ask the chat questions about whatever licensing questions we have. It will have a citation from the direct document that I can check that it's valid. And also, if it doesn't know about, like LinkedIn, as we can see here, it doesn't provide the wrong answers, because we have set a context on it that, okay, if you don't know what is happening, then you will not say something made up. And this is really powerful, because we can now really dive into these use cases for our customers and be able to trust that whatever it produces, it's based on our data, and we can be sure about that. And other use cases that really showcase the where it is currently, where is it today, is definitely, I have visualized a couple here. Obviously, there are thousands of use cases, but some low-hanging fruits to pick is definitely what we have seen in our customer base is like onboarding / HR assistant, where we can ask HR related questions from the bot. We don't have to involve any supervisors or key personnel answering questions about HR-related stuff or payroll-related stuff. They can all be answered through this chat user interface. And also, we can use our own native language to ask the questions. It doesn't have to be the document's original language that we are asking the questions. We can just use our own language, native language, to ask the questions and receive in that same language an answer back to us, which is really powerful. Other examples could be something like solar panels are typically a situation where customer service agents don't have that much knowledge about it, so they ask experts questions relating to that. So what we can do, we can definitely get some load off from the experts and have a chat interface built where our customer service or end users can ask questions about the solar panels that would otherwise require the expert. And one thing that we are also seeing a lot of potential in is any sort of machinery which has had these documentations built on them for years. So we can leverage the investments that already have been made into these machinery documentations that contain all of the answers regarding a certain robot or machine that the end user needs their questions answered about, like what kind of maintenance program we have for this device, what kind of use is allowed for this device, or what kind of spare parts do I need to maintain this, or ask any questions about it. And we can push all this data with minimal effort to generate a solution that you can already use. And then obviously we have so much more use cases. We have customer service support, sales supports, healthcare bots, internal and external chatbots, and we can push our co-pilots to create content for these internal and external chatbots. And there's a big bunch of use cases that we are already seeing our customer base starting to build with us, and that's the really exciting next step, that we really are there already. But yeah, key takeaways from my end, that leveraging the existing document data that you already have, that's the easiest step to start your AI usage. Whatever data that you have documented, that'll be super easy to start off with. And second, it's really safe to now start use this because it's in Azure OpenAI service, which is kind of your own private ChatGPT that we can control and feed this data to. And again, we can integrate into your whole ecosystem, not just the CRM and Microsoft CRM or ERP. We have the whole ecosystem available. And yeah, as I said, our customers are already adapting the first use cases with us. So essentially, the AI is here and the first use cases are being built. And I'm really happy to see where things are going next. But yeah, thank you for my time, and this is my contact info information. And next I'll be bringing to the stage Matthias, and he'll be talking about the wonderful world of Microsoft Fabric.
Everyone, and welcome to the last session of today, where exactly I will be talking about Microsoft Fabric. So, I've been looking forward to this because now we spend the entire or most of the hour hearing about all the great things we can do with Copilot, that we can do with OpenAI, and that we can do with the large machine learning models or large language models and ChatGPT and stuff like that. And the question here is, if we want to do all of these really cool things, we want to use Copilot plugins on our own data. We want to build anything that uses our own data. We need to, as Nicholas said earlier, we need to have high quality data. We need to shape our data. We need to prepare our data to actually work with OpenAI. And that is exactly what I will be talking about today. So I'm Matthias Halkjær from FellowMind as well. I'm principal architect here in our Danish department. I'm also a Microsoft MVP on the data platform. So in the current landscape, if we are having some things we need answered. So imagine you are at a management meeting and you have some urgent questions that you would like the answer for. In today's landscape, you may know about this situation where you're asking these questions and people say, we don't know. We don't have a report for this yet. So someone starts thinking about making you a report to answer this question. So they need to start doing the analysis of the data. But before they can even do that, they need to go and find the data, structure the data, put the data into replicable systems. And finally, they can build you a report and you'll be able to answer your questions, maybe weeks or even months too late to when you actually needed it answered. So in the new way, in the new world with AI-powered data insights, we should be able to ask questions directly to the AI and get answers based on our data if we prepared our data upfront. And we're looking into use cases where we can ask questions to something like Power BI, and as a result, it can generate a full-fledged Power BI report in seconds based on our actual data, so we can start getting answers immediately without involving deep technical skills, without involving a lot of people having to work around this. It will just come out of the box. And of course, it may need tweaking, but then we can start working from there. But to make this work, we need to have this high-quality data sorted. So to be able to work around OpenAI, we need to have unified data, we need high-quality data, and once we have that, well, we'll probably find business cases all around the organization. But what tools do we need to use to actually create this unified high-quality data? There are already a bunch of existing tools available. We have Data Factory, we have Synapse Analytics, we have Power BI. But before even a few weeks ago, these were still separate tools that we needed to learn individually. We need to stitch them together. We need to make them work efficiently together. But to really empower this new age of AI, we need to be able to not having to have these individual systems and have them talk to each other. We should have one system that the AI can communicate to, one place to reach our data, one place for our teams to work with, and just one unified platform. And this is exactly what we are getting with Microsoft Fabric. So Microsoft Fabric collects all the tools that we know and loved from Azure and Power BI, and they collect it into one common platform with multiple toolboxes, each doing the individual part of the task of managing, transforming, handling data the best way they can do. And in the middle of the whole thing and all the individual capabilities, we have the new modern OneLake, which is one place for all our data. It's one place for all our teams to work together on, and it's one common file format, so we never again have to have the issue of people having to transfer something to CSV files, send it to each other, and then put it into a proprietary system somewhere, only to make some modeling and send some data results back. In tomorrow's world, in the future, we have one place to collaborate. So I can ask my colleague to do some advanced machine learning. My colleague can then do that and write the results right back into the same OneLake that my data came from. So it makes collaboration much easier. And as you can see in the figure, it also enables us to start asking questions as leaders directly to OpenAI and get answers based on the data that we have in one lake. So we assemble all our people to work in one destination and enable our leaders to ask the questions and get immediate results. So Fabric and OneLake really becomes an enabler of this new future of AI. But we don't just get it in our sleep. I mean, we need to put in some hard work. We need, first of all, to think about how we organize our organization. We get all these cool new technical tools, but we need to think about how do we manage this together with also still having to have people in the companies, because of course people are inevitable. So how do we organize people so that they become AI empowered? How do we organize our data so that it becomes AI empowered? And how do we as a full organization handle this whole thing? One of the common things and common decisions we need to think about here is, do we want a centralized enterprise setup where we have all our data in one place? Do we want to have a more data mesh inspired setup where we have loads of self-service, but we have unique small individual units that have their own subsidiaries, own little areas where they do the excellent data quality, and then we share this data? Or are we looking into a hybrid where we have the best of both worlds and manage that? I don't have an answer for you. It really much depends on your situation and your company and the way you work with data and the way you want to work with data. But at FellowMind, we have this Connected Company Accelerator, which is a way to actually dig into this exact question, but also lots more. So we'll go down, check your company, make a business value assessment, showcase how a new future could look like, and finally sketch out a transformation playbook from getting you to where you are today and getting you to the place you want to be. So for key takeaways, please go check out Microsoft Fabric right now, because it's going to be huge. It's going to be the platform of the future, and it's going to be an enabler of using OpenAI. Go watch our FellowMind monthly Fabric update, and of course, connect with our Microsoft Data Platform MVPs. So my name was Matthias Halkjær. Thank you for listening in today. Please don't hesitate reaching out if you have any questions around data. If you have any questions around even OpenAI, I'll be more than happy to answer what I can and forward you to my excellent colleagues if I cannot. So reach out. Don't be a stranger. I'm on LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. You have my email here. Just let's talk. Yep. And that was it for today. So let me welcome here on stage all of us.
I can only say thank you to everyone who has joined this webinar with us. It's more than a pleasure for FellowMind and the team. We brought experts all over the world to really bring this knowledge to you, how you can really leverage the max of OpenAI in these very uncertain times, but very exciting. See you all on our next webinar and have a great day. Bye-bye.